Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 185. I'm your host, Klaus Nightbringer. Joining me, as always, is my buddy, Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, how you doing today?
Oh, I finished making my chocobos do incest and went and got a gambling addiction. So things have been great. The Gold Saucer is a family-friendly place. If anyone wants to know how to play Mahjong, I think I can teach you how to play Mahjong.
Just make sure you charge a lot for it. Charge, because you got to cover your gambling debts.
The Kugana Yakuza are probably not going to break my legs.
They probably are.
Yeah.
They totally are. So if you want to save Seyrr's legs, make sure to get some Mahjong lessons from him.
Yeah. Plus, the tiles go clicky-clack, and it is very satisfying.
Fair enough. What else you been up to since the last episode?
Oh, the library summer camp schedule is finally set, and I finally get a little bit of time to rest before the camps actually start.
And then no West for the Wicked?
Yeah, or for me either. Punk calling me wicked. How dare you?
You know it's true, though.
I can neither confirm nor deny. But yeah,
true. I can
mostly
confirm.
that. A bit of with the patch upcoming. God, just a few days from now.
Tuesday.
Getting those last Moogle tomestones. Getting my series rank up. I'm almost to 25.
Nice. I don't think I have set foot in the game.
I wonder if I could Nadam while we're podcasting.
No.
Okay, I
kind of need you.
So tempted though.
I kind of need you for this, Seyrr.
Yeah. But yeah, a bit of that. Actually having friends over for a party this week, so that'll be nice. But yeah, for librarians, the summertime is our busy season, so we're really gearing up for that.
Yeah, I suppose.
Not just the camps, but also we have our fiscal year ends at the end of June, start of July for the new fiscal year. So we have a lot of stuff like our grant reporting, things about how well our programs did, the populations we served. I have gotten dragooned into the data and statistics unit somehow.
Because of your spreadsheets.
Everyone knows how, yes. Technically, there's data guys from the city who do more of this, but I know how to explain it to other librarians, so they've been having me come to a lot of meetings. So yeah, between all that, things have been a little bit busy, which is why I retreat into making the tiles go clicky-clack until 3 a.m. It gives me the dopamine. So yeah, somehow not falling apart. How about you, Klaus? How have things been?
I don't go for the clicky clack, I go for THC. Which was just got through both the House and the Senate here in Minnesota. So
nice.
As soon as our governor signs it, we will have it legalized here. So I'm very happy for that.
My friends suggest gummies. I have never actually tried it, but
gummies
I want
are
to.
the way to go. If you're not sure, because one, you can control exactly how much you take. Like each gummy has a certain number of milligrams of the product in there, and you can take a half, a quarter, or a whole one if you feel, like you want to just kind of lay back and listen to some Fog Hat or something.
I'm slightly concerned in that, I like gummy candies in general, and so it'd be okay, just keep it to this much, just keep it to this much. Maybe have some separate non-medicated gummies, and then make sure you never mix them up.
Yes, you want to keep your adult gummies in a separate place where sober you knows how to get at them, but less than sober you is not going to go munchies, because that would just end up in a very, very dangerous loop.
This could be a problem. We have established that very drunk Seyrr can still do math.
I think you'll be fine.
it seems unlikely that will actually happen, but the idea is amusing.
I'm a huge fan of gummy candies as well, but I make sure that I only take one of them at a time, and it really helps. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It is very exciting.
The war on drugs is over. Drugs won. We should accept our new overlords and just deal.
Yeah, exactly. Aside from that, today is the 5th anniversary of our local brewery. So we were there earlier today, where we picked up some more THC edibles, hemp derived ones, because those were legal long before, which is nice.
Interesting.
Yep. It's weird how they classify the difference between hemp and cannabis. Mostly it's the potency, what they contain within, I believe.
Right. And I know there's some stuff, God, like the stuff, I want to say when like importing or exporting to certain countries, like you can bring hemp seed, but they have to be treated in a way, like they have to have gone through treatment that makes sure that they can't sprout. There's all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, there's some really odd stuff with those things, but it is
the
what
entire
it is.
thing is a confusing patchwork.
But it's nice to see that they're finally relaxing on the things that aren't the problem, and focusing more on the things that are. Because I usually don't follow politics all that closely, but this year, we've gotten a bunch of really cool things passing through our legislature, like free school lunches.
Nice.
is a nice big one. There's going to be a small rebate check coming back to taxpayers. There's a state-funded Family and Medical Leave Act that's that provides for paid family leave, and a lot of it.
It's interesting. I know people tend to focus on like the federal, the big national stuff, the ones that's like the big news, big headlines, all that. But in terms of how much effect things have on your daily life, it's usually going to matter a lot more what's happening at like local level. So like your city elections,
City, county,
like the state stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
State
like
is going to affect you
gonna...
even more than the federal in most cases.
Yep. Like federal generally isn't going to have that much effect on your day-to-day, with some occasional major exceptions, but most of the time the local stuff is going to matter far more for what your life is actually like. And
it's going to tell you really what type of area you're living in, because after the repeal of Roe v. Wade, Minnesota ended up becoming a safe haven for women and their bodies, so we're keeping it legalized, and also a lot of transgender affirming care is also legalized here, as well as it's a safe haven for those who are seeking treatment. So
yeah, California, back when Proposition 8 was a thing and there was all the various stuff around it, it was very interesting to see just how many stark differences you had coming up between different regions of the state.
Yeah, and if it's really funny to look at how all the states surrounding us that are not safe havens, but Minnesota is this beacon in the middle of that darkness. So I'm very proud of that. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression.
And I know we usually don't talk about things like this, but it just goes to show, when you get a group of people who actually want to get something accomplished out there, they can, and they can do good things. So
it's kind of nice, given the amount of gridlock we've seen
on many other levels.
Seeing something where they're saying like, okay, here, let's actually put together stuff that we think will make this a better place to live. It is nice.
Yes, so that's
more of that, please.
Yes, I want to see everybody being able to get that, and the way to do that is just to make sure to make a difference, get out and vote, and if you
vote in your local elections, don't just wait for the big federal ones.
Vote every year when they're available, because it does make a difference. Because all of the state stuff is every 2 years. So
yeah,
at least most states. Some, I don't think some. Not sure how every state works, but
so it's general. For most of them, it's every 2 years, but it's not necessarily every even numbered year. Some of them are staggered, and there's all sorts of things like special elections, and for like your local municipal stuff, sometimes that is on a yearly basis.
Yeah, a lot of that would be on an annual basis. So make sure to vote when it really matters. So, which is all the time.
Yes, I was about to say.
So, beyond that, I made a really tasty batch of chili yesterday.
Ooh.
Have you ever made chili with short rib?
I have never actually made chili.
What? You've never made chili?
I'm not so great with like soups and stews and the like. Like I adore them, but I'm not so great at making them.
At least you've met chili.
Discord has a soundboard. I might be able to do a rim shot there.
But no, I decided to.
Yep.
And it even put a little thing on your on your screen.
Oh, okay. Maybe we don't want to do that.
No, let's avoid that.
Cool.
It was funny though.
It was.
But no, I made it with about 3.5 pounds of bone-in short rib.
Ooh.
Some chili beans. I know a lot of people don't like beans, but I made sure that they were chili flavored beans, and that actually helped a little bit. Made them a little bit softer, and it kind of made it, kind of more through this. I can talk today, and then I hit my mic. Kind of go through the whole chili. And then instead of like adding a can of tomato, I added like a 28-ounce jar of mild salsa.
Interesting.
So I used that as the tomato component as well as some of the seasoning. And then I found this chipotle flavored. It's called Better Than Bouillon.
Oh, that stuff is amazing.
I think
that's actually like It's America's Test Kitchen's favorite.
Yeah, it's really good. They have different soup bases that you can get, but I happened to find one that was a chipotle pepper flavored one, and it went really well in there. It had a nice smoky depth to it.
Yeah, if you don't want to spend a lot of time simmering bones, doing all the other fun stuff to make stock, that one is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, and then I cooked it all in my pressure cooker, so it only took like 60 minutes, from hitting the button to when I released the pressure.
Nice.
And then a little bit of work after, because you need to take the bones out of the short rib and then chop them up, put it back in, let it simmer for a bit. And get this, it ended up being just a little bit too soupy, a little bit too liquid, because I added an entire quart of beef stock instead of just like a cup or two.
Right.
Instant mashed potatoes.
Oh.
I just took instant mashed potatoes and I dumped about a half a cup in that pot of chili. Stirred it up.
Interesting.
Let it cook a little bit. And basically the potato just dissolved into the potato starch, and that thickened it, and it didn't make it taste like potatoes.
Clever.
Right?
I'm keeping that one in my back pocket.
Yeah, it was really a neat way to, an easy way to thicken something like that. So yeah, I figured you would appreciate that as as a guy who likes to cook as well. I know Marvelous would definitely have been like, yeah, dude, that's an awesome idea.
He might actually have ideas for improvements on it. I am absolutely sure that man has his own personal chili recipe.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna try and add just some cornstarch, but I didn't have any. So potato starch is one of the next best things.
Nice.
So there we go. That's kind of what I've been up to. And then we have a trip planned up to Duluth next week. So going to check out some breweries out there. So that should be fun. Maybe report on that a little bit on the next episode.
We are getting to that time of year.
It is that time of year, definitely. But let's go ahead and throw a huge thank you out to our Patreon producers, Nick Nar, Aurori, Ravenheart, who's in chat, thank you, and Mika. So let's talk about that gaming community news. Seyrr, did you get this email as well?
Let's see. I don't think I actually did.
Okay. So because I know not everybody, frequents the Square Enix store, some people actively avoid it. But
I've used them before, but it's been a while. So I wonder if it was just anything within a certain amount of time.
Who knows? But I received this email on Thursday, so I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of this because this is coming up soon. Square Enix is actually migrating to a new e-commerce platform. And here's the contents of the email. Dear Square Enix customer, we're writing to inform you about upcoming changes to the Square Enix store that will impact your Square Enix members account and access to previous orders. On Wednesday, the 24th of May, Square Enix will migrate to a new e-commerce platform. Monday, May 22nd and Tuesday, May 23rd, Square Enix store will be inaccessible to all customers. If you're a Square Enix member account holder, you will still be able to log into the new storefront with your existing account information. So that's all being migrated over, which is good. Your rewards points will be transferred to the new store platform. However, previous account activity, including order history and unlocked game codes, will be available in early June. So you'll have to wait a little bit for that.
So it sounds like mostly you're not going to actually lose anything, but access to some stuff is going to be temporarily unavailable, and they don't want you to panic.
And here's the important part, because Final Fantasy 16 is coming out in a month.
Not already.
We want to reassure you that prior pre-orders have been registered and will be fulfilled on the release day. If you place an order for a pre-order item and need to change or update your payment card information or shipping address details prior to the cash collect date, please submit a Square Enix Store Help Center request. I can give you guys the link to that if you need it in a later time, but I did not put it in the notes for this one. If your payment and address details are up to date, no action is required to receive your order. If you have recently confirmed payment for your copy of Final Fantasy 16, be assured your order is secure and will be delivered. We're excited to unveil a new refreshed e-commerce experience and look forward to continuing to serve you.
I mean, the impression I get is mostly that this is your standard, hey, we're revamping the thing. It's just happening right as the same time as this other major release. Yep. So they want to make sure everyone knows stuff is fine and you don't need to panic.
Also, please God, get rid of Scale Fast. Please God, get rid of Scale Fast. Please God, get rid of Scale Fast.
I wonder what you think about Scale Fast.
I mean, I can't be the only one who has been very disappointed in my experience dealing with them.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories. This type of thing might be why they've been looking to go to a new storefront.
I'm hoping that.
Oftentimes, since there's various agreements in place, it's not as easy as just being able to change it whenever they like.
No, they have contracts they have to deal with and things like that. So
running a business is hard.
I'm not going to go on that one. So,
I mean, it is. A lot of people are not good at it.
No, you're 100% correct. It's a tricky thing. That's why most of us have regular jobs instead of running our own businesses.
I work for the government.
I don't. All right, so let's continue on. Square Enix is looking to release big games more frequently after Final Fantasy 16. This article is coming from thegamer.com and was written by Josh Colson. Let me get that copied and pasted into chat here for you guys. So the goal appears to be to have its popular MMOs, with Final Fantasy 14 topping that particular bill, bring in more money so that revenue can then be invested in big new projects. Well, that's kind of what they've been doing for the last 5 years, isn't it?
I mean, it sounds like there's been some. They've never actually talked about that. A lot of that has been what we've assumed and surmised. I
thought that we've heard that directly from Yoshi P in the past.
But I mean, it sounds like they're. The impression I got from this article is that they're looking to formalize that process a little bit more and to try to release more of these large-scale games to actually try to get that kind of pipeline going.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Square Enix is going to take a leaf out of Call of Duty's playbook and launch a new flagship Final Fantasy every 12 months. But we are getting a number of games like this year. Like we got the Pixel remasters, we got a new patch for Final Fantasy 14, we got Final Fantasy 16 coming out, we've got Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth coming out soon.
Yeah.
But other games like Power Wash Simulator, even Octopath
It still amazes
2.
me that that's a Square Enix game. I mean, it's such a good game. That's another one that gives me dopamine.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, just a quick side on that, SpongeBob is coming to Power Wash Simulator.
What the hell, people?
But you know, games like that are included in that because they're trying to continue to work on what they call HD games. You know, not like just the smaller stuff, but you know, they consider Power Wash Simulator one of those HD games.
Yeah, I mean, I would think of it as like the type of thing that you would not normally be playing on a phone.
Yeah. Oh, and Ravenheart did remind me that they also did the Final Fantasy VII remake with the Zack, that game. I can't think of the name.
Crisis Core.
Crisis Core. Yeah. CC. I couldn't think of that it was Crisis Core. Sorry, but thanks, Ravenheart. But yeah, that's going to be nice. Hopefully I hope the big thing that comes out of this is a less than 6-year gap between Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 17.
Yeah, that was something that Yoshi P specifically cited in interviews. This whole thing about people, a lot of the younger gamers don't necessarily have the same attachment, in part because Final Fantasy games came out so infrequently. So they've only like had one or two that launched during their like active gaming life.
Versus when we were younger, Final Fantasy games were coming out on an annual basis. Realistically, like granted, we didn't get
slightly more for the US because some of them didn't make it over here, but it was still a pretty fast rate.
Final Fantasies 7, 8, and 9 all came out within a year of each other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was. No, wait.
Yeah.
7 and 8 were a year out, and I think 8 and 9 were like a year and a half out.
Oh yeah, but like compared to 6 years, that's nothing.
Yeah, it got to be quite the wait between when we went to 13 and then 15. I mean, that was a 10-year wait.
Yeah, that was just bogged down by all manner of things.
Yeah. I mean, 15 wasn't supposed to be 15, but it is what it is.
That's a whole other thing that I know we've spent some time talking about, but yeah, none of that was intentional, but it also is what happened, and it looks like they want to go back to a somewhat more purposeful thing, which means setting up some of those clear pipelines for it, probably having stuff going with multiple working groups.
Well, I think the fact that they were able to get a lot of traction out of the Final Fantasy XIV story team that worked on Final Fantasy 16 while also helping to support 14.
Yeah,
I think that was a big push in the right direction for them, and is hopefully going to help their process flow and allow us to get games maybe every 4 years instead.
One of the things that we've seen a lot with Final Fantasy XIV's team, and you actually see it with a lot of the people working on other Final Fantasy games, like we saw this with Record Keeper, even stuff like that, is that you have the people who are making these things are now the people who grew up with these games, where they have a lot of passion, they have a lot of fondness for it. The types of things where Yoshi P has announced, yeah, by the way, they started working on this thing behind my back, and that's why Viera and Hrothgar can wear glasses. Stuff like that.
Yeah, they've got some amazing developers.
I really hope they're taking proper breaks, but at the same time, I do appreciate that passion.
Exactly. All right, let's continue on and move on to our next topic, announcing the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn 10th Anniversary Twitter Sweepstakes. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue, folks? Basically what this is, if you missed out on the original Fat Chocobo back in the Amazon giveaway, you have a chance to get that now. You can just tweet your information out to the Final Fantasy XIV team. All the information is on the link that I posted in the chat and will be in the show notes as well.
Yeah, given that they want to keep attracting new players to the game, like it does. I know there are some games or like some creators where their philosophy is like, hey, some of these items are like unique and they were from this particular time, and if you weren't there, and it seems like while they do it to have the like, when they release the Mog Station version of things, it'll be like the authentic version or something with a slightly different name. It does seem like they don't want to say new people who come to it, you just can't get access to this.
Yeah.
It does really seem like they want to make it something that continues to be welcoming for them, which is nice.
I do hope they do something similar for the Dalamud minion. I still want that.
Oh, I ended up with a CD for that, but it turned out to be a later printing that hadn't had the code.
Same. And that's where I was a little bit sad. And I emailed them and saying, hey, I got this and it was missing a code. Is there anything that can be done? Unfortunately, there wasn't. So.
Right. Yeah, if they made some of those available for re-release, I don't even know if I would necessarily get them at this point, but just having them be available feels like it would be a nice thing.
Yeah, I would kind of like it because, like I said, I do collect all of the soundtracks, and it'd be nice to have, the fun in-game items to go with them.
I just think of it as a part of our history.
That we'll never get to play with?
Well, yeah. This runs into a whole bunch of stuff about archival issues that I will save because I am trying not to turn Phoenix Down Radio into Seyrr Rants About Library Science Topics Radio.
What are you talking about? That's like out half the episodes already.
I know, I'm trying not to make it more.
We can make a side podcast for that.
You should not be able to get course credit by listening to our podcast.
I think that'd be hilarious.
Feels like it might be a bit too much.
It'd be hilarious though if we ended up being used for something like that.
Oh, it would be hilarious, but
this
probably not ideal.
This next story had me chuckling pretty hard. Yoshi P couldn't put down Tears of the Kingdom while they were doing the live stream test for the live letter. Thank you to pushsquare.com for this little article written by Sammy Barker. And the funniest part, that they put some screenshots in there of the test, and he was even playing it on a Tears of the Kingdom themed OLED Switch. So
yeah, like most of my friends group, several of my different friend groups have been obsessed about Tears of the Kingdom. I still need to finish Breath of the Wild.
I need to start Breath of the Wild, but I will end up picking up Tears of the Kingdom eventually.
Yeah, it has been fun to see just how into it people are. A lot of the crazy stuff they've been building, they share. To the point where I'm not 100% convinced there's an actual plot or storyline beyond build cool vehicles. But hey, they're building cool vehicles. Good for them.
That build system within Tears of the Kingdom is pretty epic, and they're really proud of it. I have to say, Nintendo did a really amazing job on that. The game sold 10 million copies in the first weekend, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. To put it in perspective, I want to say Breath of the Wild sold like 28 million copies, in 4 years.
Right.
10 million in 3 days. And I haven't bought a copy yet. Seyrr hasn't bought a copy yet.
Yeah, there's still plenty of people who could be buying those, just like in those first few days. I know the main thing I was taking away for that is, I've talked, and I think we've talked in general plenty of times about how the people who are making these games are the people who grew up on these. Like, these are people who are part of the hobby themselves. And so when there's a big new release, yeah, he's like slacking off of work to play Zelda.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just that he is very public about it, but also he's kind of at that point where he can just do this sort of thing and no one's going to question him about it.
Yeah, I saw it and I laughed and I'm like, you go, Yoshi. That's freaking awesome. And the fact that all of the game companies out there, even, PlayStation and Microsoft Xbox, congratulated Nintendo on the release of of Tears of the Kingdom. And it's just, it's really cool to see that kind of camaraderie within the video game industry, because everybody thinks that, it's, this group versus this group versus this group, when realistically we're all just gamers and want to play games.
Yeah. I know there is some stuff going on between like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV, between Square and Blizzard, where like the leadership of the company had been like hadn't been having issues with stuff, but the actual folks down in the trenches is like, yeah, we're playing both games. We're talking to the people from this. We're all part of the same industry.
Well, I mean, shit, even Yoshida has admitted that he's been playing WoW for ages.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why he wanted to get on the 14 group.
Yeah. Like, I think that, God, the ancient days of the console wars, where you picked one thing and you were blindly loyal to it, that is dead and gone. Yeah, and now you have people who will try a bit of everything, who are very eager to see all that there is to offer, and I feel like that's a much better world to be in.
Right now, I think the majority of gamers are console agnostic. I mean, I have all of the consoles now. This for the first time ever. I've got a Nintendo Switch, I've got a PlayStation 5, and I have an Xbox Series S.
Also, you have a phone and a PC.
And a phone and a PC, yeah. But I mean, as far as the actual console manufacturers, I have all three of them now.
At this point, the lines are kind of blurred.
Exactly. But it is what it is. I mean, they all have their own, specific things. I ended up buying the Xbox because it was a hell of an amazing deal with from Verizon. I think I got it for $150. But I can I can hook up Game Pass to it, so for $15 a month I can play all the games I want.
Yeah, like enough of this stuff has gone mainstream. The fact that the release of this game has become like this major cultural event that really cracked outside. Like I have seen so many news articles in like mainstream press talking about what is this game? Like what's going on with it? Like it's kind of nice to be like, yeah, no, like don't have to be like an outsider type thing. Like this is just part of the culture in general, and that's awesome.
It is very cool to see how things have changed. It's no longer Nintendo versus Sega or anything like that. So
Sega needs to get out there and make another Space Channel 5 sequel. All I'm saying.
Well, I mean, they're still doing software, but they're just doing it for whoever wants to put it on.
I want another Space Channel 5 sequel.
Well, then you should get out on the socials and say, hey, we want another Space Channel 5 thingy.
What if I were to go dress up in front of their corporate headquarters? That'd probably be fine. I bet I could get the time off work.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're putting together a GoFundMe to bail Seyrr out.
Keep in mind, the Japanese legal system is significantly harsher, so we'd better set that goal high.
Yeah, and plus I'm gonna have to fly over there with it.
Ooh, and I wonder if back. I wonder if I could get myself deported. Anyway, my terrible ideas aside.
Okay, this last little bit of news that we're going to talk about before we get into patch 6.4 preliminary patch notes and such is another Final Fantasy 16 Torgal story, and basically that Final Fantasy 16's Torgal is poised to take on title of Goodest Good Boy on PS5. I just thought this was absolutely adorable. This comes from pushsquare.com and it was written by Kale Adam. Apparently there's a new trailer. We get to see Torgal in action where he faithfully assists his master Clive both in battle offensively and can even mend his wounds. While able to fight under his own initiative, players will be able to direct the Hound in combat and even combine for epic duo attacks. And yes, you can pet him.
I mean, that Twitter account exists for a reason. When there is a dog, you need to be able to pet a dog. But I'm pretty sure that's mentioned in the Constitution somewhere.
But can you boop the snoot?
I mean, that's what we have the amendments to the Constitution for. Our founding fathers did not recognize the importance of snoot booping.
Yes.
And while they're good men, flawed in their own ways, we have the opportunity to correct this.
Yes, so booping the snoot will now be a constitutional right.
Exactly.
I also did link
the America I want to live in.
I linked the new trailer in the chat as well. So for those who haven't seen it yet, it's really cute, and Torgal is best boy. So and just like Nick Nar, my Final Fantasy 16 anticipation is rising. I am really excited to have that very, very soon in just over 1 month.
God, it feels like it came up really quickly. I know that like it doesn't, but it just feels like it all of a sudden came out of nowhere. What the heck?
And Aurora, yes, that is 100% correct. She makes sure to specify that you must ask the owner of the dog if it's okay to boop their snoot first.
This is why you should get your own dog. That way you can boop its snoot whenever you want.
That is true. If you have a space to able to raise a dog, yes.
Yes. Volunteer at your local humane society. Then you can do some snoot boopage.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into our discussion topic. It's kind of a twofold one, but they kind of work together. We're going to talk a little bit about Live Letter 77, which happened on Friday, and then also the preliminary patch notes, which were released yesterday as well. So here is Nova Crystallis's coverage of the Live Letter. Again, thank you, Aaron Van Dyne, for all of your hard work. We really do appreciate it for those who don't want to wake up at way too early just to watch this. Or I was up, but I was getting ready for work, so kind of had to do that. And then I'm also going to go ahead and post the patch notes here as well, so you guys can read through those. We're going to go through that a little bit more, but we're not going to try and delve too deeply into it because, well, we get to play it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But there's some really cool things. So let's start with Nova Crystallis's coverage real quick. It starts with a new trailer, as we always get. They always have a nice trailer that they play for us in the beginning of these live letters. And this one, they
lots
go
of
through
big
a lot of
dramatic
stuff.
scenes.
Mm-hmm. So
that said, we have had previous trailers where they cut together several scenes where we had what appeared to be Reen fighting on the source, which turned out to actually be, oh, hey, it's part of the Bozja content. So it's always a little difficult to take whatever they give us at face value.
Yep. But they make it so it gets you interested in the content.
Oh, yeah. That is the entire point of a trailer.
So they confirmed again, more somehow further Hildebrand Adventures will be coming in patch 6.45, so we will not be getting that on Tuesday. And that's where the weapon and tool enhancement quests will be continued.
Technically the tool enhancements are a separate thing, but they're sort of tied in. There's been lots of hints that Grenalt and Geralt have sorts of weird mystical links.
Yep.
Which lore-wise, I don't know how I feel about, but we are in the Hildebrand bubble. The Hildebrand bubble works on different rules. That's just how it is.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that they are both shards of the same soul.
I guess. This gets into me ranting about reincarnation, but we'll save that. The important thing is Hildebrand soonish, but not now.
Yep. And just the fact that the upgrade quests for both of those are coming in the .X5 patch. So we're going to get Zervan in the Unreal trial this time. So skip Soar or disband is not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell you're going to skip Soar on this, mothers.
I've started doing Unreal trials with some friends, and they are definitely tuned up to a point. Like, it's around the thing of what people would have been able to do when it was first released, and you're not going to have the option of just like waiting a couple patches and getting gear to outlevel it.
Yep,
this is one where you really do need to know the fight, and you need to be able to step through the whole thing.
Yep, the Unreal trials, rather than level syncing you down to minimum eye level, they sync up the content to your maximum eye level, basically. So there's going to be a huge gap in there. So you're not going to be able to overpower this one. You're going to have to actually play through it the way the developers intended.
Yep.
It was a good fight. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
All three of those Warring Triad fights were actually really pretty good.
I mean, I was not actually doing much extremes at the time, so this has been a little bit of a redemption arc for me. Getting to go back and try this stuff and be like, okay, yes, I do have the skills for this.
As far as other new content, there's going to be a new dungeon, the Aether Front, for the storyline. There's going to be a new trial versus Golbez. I mean, there's no surprise there. We know we were going up against him in this patch.
Yeah, we'd seen a bit of the Aether Front. We got a couple more pictures. Again, that snowy northern climb, the polar bears, which the OCP has called out as this is something that just really associates with this kind of setting.
I mean, because the Charlene is in a cold area. I mean, it snows very frequently in the city, and we're only at the very southern portion of that isle.
Yeah, pretty much we've been limited to that area. The other areas we've been able to explore are like the caves underneath.
Yeah,
but looking at it on the world map, there's a decent bit of space on there.
We're gonna get the third and final chapter of Pandemonium with the Anabasos tier. And the Savage difficulty is going to be released 1 week after the patch, so you get a little bit of a chance to get used to the story mode version before you have to jump into your Savage raids.
Yeah. A lot of that is the same as usual. What I find more interesting is the changes that they're making, which include a lot of changes to how rewards are going to work.
Oh, okay.
So
I must have missed
rather than having the two coffer system they had before, it's going to now be a single coffer that just has the amount of items in it change, which just should be easier to manage.
They're going to tier?
This is for the Savage Raider specifically.
Okay.
The chest piece, which has usually been a thing from the fourth fight, has been moved to the third fight.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they're changing it so that the tokens from the fourth one can be traded in for tokens from any of the other tiers.
Okay.
So for those who are, I'm not sure. I actually should ask. By the way, big shout out to Spender, friend of mine who I've mentioned so many times before, who this last week finally got his clear on Abyssos Savage.
Nice.
Yeah. He does not want to hear certain sounds again for a while.
Fair enough.
Yeah. He also got the weapon coffer, so he now has a very demonic looking book. It is excellent.
Sweet.
Yeah, but in addition to that, they're going to be lowering the token costs for all of the rewards,
Okay.
so it'll be a little bit easier to get items.
That should be good. So I'm hoping that that's not just the Savage rate or tier; it's also the normal tier.
They didn't say specifically. I can go ahead and check on the usually they kind of basis. Yeah, I am not sure.
Yeah,
The
I don't
stuff
see
where they were
anything-
talking about the stuff where they were talking about the rewards, they were specifically talking about Savage rating.
Okay, so it looks like the normal rate stuff. You're still gonna have to collect 2 of the hands and arms and feet and head.
Yeah,
and then
this is
4
a
of
thing
the
where
legs
you
and body.
Yeah, this for Savage, you get a single token type each time you clear it once a week. Like it would be like there was like Asphodelos Mythos 1 and Asphodelos Mythos 2 and things like that.
So are they going to be dropping an item for each person who completes the raid?
or is
it
generally
still just going to be like 4?
So not sure because so everyone gets a token, but then they have the also like actual completed items. They did note that it's no longer going to be possible for certain duplicates to drop.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be something where say like 2 things of aiming hands dropped.
And if you only have like one person that can use the aiming one, so it's going to be based off of what the also what the words here,
The party composition.
Exactly.
Yep. Which, given that the way Savage rating works, absolutely encourages you to have a full spread of 8 different jobs, and thus makes it that a thing where if a duplicate of something shows up, it's way less likely that someone's going to be able to make use of it.
I mean, that's still a possibility because multiple jobs still use the aiming stuff, defending stuff, the striking stuff.
It's less likely, though. There are some kind of standard compositions based on roles and certain other types of things. So these changes will make it so you are less likely to have stuff hitting the floor or going to someone's alt. In general, this seems like something to make the grind a little less onerous.
Well, that's good.
I know that for Abyssos, generally it's been a thing where the second raid tier has been the really hard one. We had Savage Kefka was the end of a lot of groups back in Stormblood. Hydarine back in Shadowbringers. Like those ones the second one has tended to be and Abyssos has been no exception.
Oh, so the second tier was way more difficult than the first tier?
As in Abyssos overall was like more difficult than Asphodelos, and if the pattern holds, more difficult than Anabasos.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically, it was that way as well for even Binding Coil.
Yep,
and it was that way for Alexander too. I mean, a lot of groups got stopped on the giant robot.
Brute Justice.
Yes.
Say his name.
Yes.
So yeah.
Continuing on, we are getting a new variant in Criterion dungeon, Mount Ruckon.
They showed some of the outfits from that for our Weeb players, which I imagine is a lot of players. But they've got some really cool looking outfits.
They specified this is a patch 6.45 content as well.
Oh.
So we'll have to wait until the 0.05 patch on that. But it's nice that it's something to look forward to. You know, if they dropped everything on initial patch day, people wouldn't have anything to do, a month and a half down the road.
Yeah. I mean, it does work for helping space the content out because God knows we're not going to control ourselves.
Exactly. Well, I've got a lot to catch up on yet, but I mean, at least I'm keeping up with the storyline.
Yeah. But my Criterion group had been looking forward to Rockon, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer.
You get more Zildon Subterrane.
We still hadn't managed to clear the Savage yet, so...
But you don't have to, which is a very nice thing.
That is true. Because of the nature of the variant dungeons, where each one is its own self-contained exploration.
Yep, they're not locked within each other in a story.
Yeah. Yep. Each one is just its own opportunity to explore an area, learn a bit more about the story. It's the fact that they have the harder content to appeal, like they do have the harder stuff to appeal for those who like the challenge, but it is still something where those who are more focused on story stuff, on a little bit of that exploration content, that they have this thing where they don't necessarily have to worry about that completionist aspect.
Exactly. It's nice to have.
Like it does really feel like they make an effort to create stuff that's going to appeal to many different types of players.
Yep. They're going to adding more duty supports to Stormblood dungeons, including Siren Song C, Bardam's Medal, which is going to be an interesting one, Doma Castle, Castro Mabania, and Alamigo. So you'll be able to run that with a party of NPCs, which will be really nice for people coming into the game who are maybe aren't having a chance to run that with other players at this point. Queue times have been very bad.
Bringing Hien along for the direct assault on the heart of Doma, like it always felt kind of like, oh yes, and the NPCs are off doing their thing. It's like being able to say, no, Hien's in the party. He's part of course he's part of this direct assault. Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah, it's gonna make it a little bit it's gonna hit better, I think.
Yeah,
for those who really like the strong story of the different expansions, and it's nice to see that they're allowing this content to be run by people who are new to the game, because not, like I said, not everybody is going to be queuing up for this older content right now.
Yeah, it's a type of thing where you just have to wait for something in the roulette.
Yep, there's going to be adjustments to both PvP and PvE modes, as well as frontline adjustments. Patch 645 also is going to have a Blue Mage update where it's going to increase level cap 80. New gear, new spells, and new stuff to do in the magic log, as well as new things to go through in the Masked Carnival. Sarah, you're going to like this one. Ocean fishing is getting an update. There's a new Kugane route, which we've talked about, and the Island Sanctuary is getting a bunch of updates too.
The fishing community has already been going crazy about planning for it.
And you've been in the lead, haven't you? With your spreadsheets.
No, those people are crazy. Like, they do good work. I'm impressed by them, and I do not get in their way.
You don't get in the way of their spreadsheets?
They're a type of crazy that I am afraid of.
That's saying something, because Seyrr has a very special type of crazy. He makes spreadsheets for video game fishing people.
Well, people make spreadsheets. That's normal. Shut up, it's normal.
You know we love you, Seyrr.
It's perfectly normal.
I do like the name of the new tombstone, the Elegant Tombstone of Comedy.
Oh, it's always interesting. And we see this actually with the Moogle tombstones, where we get to see them as an item description, where the Mendacity ones talk about how they have compelling falsehoods on them. All of these are supposed to be like different types of data. So you have like compilations of Allegan plays for drama. You have the military one, which is going to have like military notes and spec. All of these various different bits of Allegan technology, knowledge, and culture that we're bringing to Rowena.
I don't think we're going to want to read the tragedy ones, though, in patch 6.5 or whatever, the next 6, or it'd be 7.0, wouldn't it? Because it's every 2 patches.
I am looking forward to when the causality ones get added to the Moogle tombstone, just because I want to read the description of them and see what the hell is a tombstone of causality? What's on there?
I don't think you really want to know.
Like, is this Allegan time travel shit? Please don't let this be Allegan time travel shit.
Maybe it's Allegan time travel shit.
Oh.
Well, they got their hands into everything else. Why not time travel too?
Oh, it's always Allegans, Aether, Ancients, or Akasha. Like 95% of problems can be blamed on one of those things.
Everybody is going to have 100 gear sets, regardless of where you're at in the story. That's going to be kind of nice. That's a lot of gear sets, guys.
Between that and glamour plates, you're going to be able to switch between so many different costumes.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty nice. I'm really liking the fashion sense this game is making. You know, allowing players to customize their characters, you know, the way they want to. So you can have, you know, your fully kitted out, you know, paladin in plate mail, or or you can have your wizard in the robes, or you can be a basic bitch sipping on a pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah. I can't imagine needing 100 different, like, or even like half of that for battle content. I know that for some things there'll be like for ultimates there's best in slot things, since those are permanently locked at certain item levels. There are best in slot things based on the very specific requirements of those. And so even if you're packing sets for specialty content like that, I have trouble imagining needing even 50 of them for battle content, which really makes me think that this is again about fashion and being able to have lots of different outfits.
Well, it's an easy way for the dev team to be able to give players more fashionable outfits, because the glamour chest is still a difficult thing that they're working on trying to expand safely without causing server damage because of the way that it's written into the system.
There's a lot tied in there, though. That reminds me, one of the other small things they mentioned is that when you are in an in-room, you will be able to access more locations for the purposes of glamour. So you'll be able to get access to more different types of things.
Yep. The biggest thing is you need to make sure that it's an instance that's tied directly to you, because if somebody else comes in and makes a change to it, I think that's where they were concerned about the stability of the servers and the net code.
Pretty much. Whatever. Other people can wear my shirts. It's fine.
I don't want anybody else in my shirts.
Well, but do you want someone else in your pants? Suggestive eyebrow wiggle. That one was for the audio listeners.
Oh my! I forgot which button it was already. I don't want to hit the wrong one. Anyway, they have a screenshot of the new elegant tombstone of comedy gear. It's your standard gear. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. I guess as a bard, it doesn't excite me. But I do like like the tank gear. That looks nice. I don't mind the melee fighter gear, but again, I'm just not a fan of the bard gear. What are your thoughts, Seyrr?
I'm trying to find where it is on the page here. I was scrolling through it. I think I went right past it.
Yeah, it's just above job adjustments in Nova Crystallis's.
Perfect. There we are. Yeah. There's some of the weapon designs are a little bit wackier. You've got like actual birds perched on the bard bow. The warrior axe appears to be a circular buzzsaw,
which is kind of neat. I mean, if it actually spins, that'd be kind of cool.
I mean, they've got stuff like that already with things like the Magitech axe or some of the old carpenter tools.
And really, if you look, the animation for Felcleave, it looks like 3 buzzsaws going in. So maybe that's where it came from.
So yeah, the actual armor itself looks reasonably standard-ish, I guess, but the weapons are kind of fascinating.
And then they talk a little
I'm also vaguely curious as to what they'll call them, given that we've had Moonward and then Lunar Envoy stuff, and we have like the whole Final Fantasy IV tie-in with some of that. So I'm wondering if this will get a similar type of name.
Okay. And then they talk a little about some of the job adjustments that are coming. One that I know Seyrr wanted to talk a little bit about was they're making a huge change to Fields of Glory, the Shatter map.
Oh yeah, I have been continuing to spam that PvP, partly for the Series XP, partly for the tombstones, and partly because when I'm done with making tiles go clicky clack, but I still have stress to burn off, shooting people in the face is a good way to go about that.
Remix Soccer in the chat just commented that she went to another game's stream, heard people bad mouthing male speedos, and was reminded why Final Fantasy XIV is home.
Male speedos are terrible because they taunt us with what we can't have. Wait, what?
But we were talking a little bit about this in the pre-show. How they really took the map and they made it a lot more even on every side.
Yeah, it's got a lot more symmetry to it. The old map certainly had a lot of style and character. I know a lot of people like having, oh yeah, we're at this landing, this is the good one. And I know for something like Seal Rock, there's such a big difference between like these sections that are in the cave.
Well,
there's arguments for and against having something where it's like similar for everyone, or where each one has its own style. Like you get differences in gameplay, you don't want it to be too homogenous. But it definitely seems like for Fields of Glory, they decided to go hey, let's change some of the obvious inequities.
Yeah, and I can see them, trying to make things as equal as possible when you're looking at a PvP type of thing, so you're not being, either given a bonus or, held back because of where you spawn.
There is an argument for having different modes of PvP, some with one style and some with another. I mean, like having several different ones and having having people be able to have a favorite one that scratches their particular itch is not an unreasonable way to go about it.
No, but it is. There's also something to be said that it should not be based off of where you spawn at. It should be based off of the how well your team works together.
You want to create like this is something where we absolutely could get into a debate about this. I feel
Easily.
like you want to create interesting differences that are going to create unpredictable situations that give chances to leverage stuff. That said, that works better with some modes than with others. Like something like that works really well for the Nadam, where you have smaller group stuff being more effective, where you have a different dynamic of grabbing a point and then pulling back from it, where you have other things going on like that. That works well for that, where you want lots of interesting, chaotic decisions.
But I mean, for the most part, I've also found that, wherever I spawn, it doesn't really matter. We can perform those different types of little actions from any of the locations, and a lot of it's going to depend on where things are actually going to be spawning, because different points all along the map, it might spawn closer to you where the other group is halfway across the map.
Yeah. The other things I note with the new Field of Glory map is there are significantly fewer precarious bridges and dangerous ledges where a monk is going to be able to taunt people over and then knock them off for an easy kill. Which I'm sure the monks are going to be a bit disappointed about, but that also just felt like a thing that really distracted from the main gameplay of Field of Glory, which is supposed to be focused on finding and shattering those ice-bound tomeliths. Having these things where you'd have people bogged down on the edges of the map, 6 or 7 people trying to kill one monk, really felt like it took away from the main focus of the gameplay. For a similar reason, Field of Glory is also removing those kind of base tomeliths, the elegant things that you would capture at each base that would give that steady supply of points. And that people would sneak over and capture another teams just to pull them away from stuff. I get the strategic element of that, but that's another one that felt like it wasn't really actually adding anything of note to the gameplay. So I get why they're taking that out of there. Yep. As a result of that, since there's going to be less points available through those means, they are actually going to have tomeliths respawning, which is another thing that's going to change up the dynamic. Yep. So yeah, Fields of Glory is going to have a lot of changes going on.
Yeah, and probably one of the bigger changes is the original big PvP map, Borderland Ruins. Those are going to be going away for a while. So if you like those, if you really enjoyed, fighting on Cartano Flats, you'd have up until reset to do that, which I believe is 6 or is 11 p.m. or is this going to be a larger reset? I don't remember what the maintenance time was. Is this a 24-hour maintenance?
I am not sure. It doesn't matter because Borderland Ruins is the worst flooded. If you like it, you're just wrong.
People can like what they like.
Yes, and most of the time that's fine. But here they're wrong.
Gosh, Sarah, why don't you tell us what you really think?
Okay, so Borderland Ruins has several problems, which I am going to enumerate at this time.
Anyway, I'm double checking.
You asked for this, you punk.
Sarcastically. I'm trying to check to see what the maintenance is for All Worlds maintenance. Here we go. Give me a second.
Yeah. We got that
7 p.m. Pacific time on the 22nd. So you do have a bit of time on Monday if you do still want to play a little bit of Borderland Ruin.
Yeah. Other changes to PvP, which they detail a bit more in some of the notes, but a lot of stuff with changing how damage is dealt on a per job basis, as well as change. It doesn't seem like there's any direct changes to the actions that, at least that I had seen so far. A lot of it more was the things like
potency.
This job.
Was it some potency changes maybe?
Yeah. but a lot of it was more like this job will take more damage from sources or will deal more or less damage to things, stuff like that. Things where it sounds like they're happy with the interplay of the dynamics, but just need to tweak the numbers a bit.
Yeah, making sure that certain jobs aren't able to, overpower other ones because of a certain skill or something like that. Because that was definitely a thing with, I think, weren't black mages pretty powerful in PvP for quite a while?
Yeah, and right now it's a lot of tanks, and in particular Dark Knights, have been really affecting the battle. That's it. We don't want to turn this into PvP talk.
No.
There's changes coming. We'll see the details.
Yeah,
But, mostly because I want to move on to some of the next stuff. We got that first actual glimpse of that upcoming trial, the Voidcast Deus.
Okay.
That is the long-awaited fight against Golbez, and beautiful shots of we see, given that we know that Golbez's base is on the moon, we have this lunar location with the 13th visible in the distance, much like how we can see the source from our moon, from Mare Lamentorum, but kind of this dark reflection of it, colored a blood red. It's not clear to me if that's just from the light of what Golbez is doing, if something has permanently affected the moon here, but whatever it is, we've got this blood red lunar surface with, rather than our standard kind of platform, we have something that looks, the portion of it that we could see looks like a giant cube floating in midair.
So if you don't like square arenas, now you have a cube.
Yeah, I really like, it's not just like a platform, it really is a full-on cube. And it makes me wonder, given the other fight that we had, major fight in a lunar environment that also included a suspiciously regularly sized ones, I wonder if we're going to be dealing with rotation mechanics, things where maybe parts of the cube will be rotating under us, where it almost looks like a die that one could roll or that could flip or turn.
Yep.
We can see similar patterns on the sides of it, and so I wonder if maybe there'll be stuff going on the sides, or if maybe the surfaces will change,
or maybe
they might use the fact that we're in this.
They might unfold and fold up, so maybe it'll like extend out one way, and then the other side will fold down.
Yeah, you could have it fold and unfold and change the arena that way.
Who knows?
Maybe you have stuff where like gravity changes and you can actually walk onto the sides. There's a lot of possibilities here. Given that we know so much about, well, we ostensibly know so much about Golbez from the fact that it's Golbez, it's this ancient callback. And I mean, that was the thing when we had this Seed of Sacrifice, the fight against the Warrior of Light. Again, one that showed up in a lot of games where we have a good general idea of the power set. They changed it up by having him assisted by heroes from other Final Fantasies. And so we got a lot of unexpected mechanics out of having to deal with these additional ones that we would not have normally expected from the Warrior of Light, in addition to the Warrior of Light's signature attacks.
Yep. So there's going to be something good. I really have faith that the dev team does an amazing job with these battles.
Yeah, and just in this ruined lunar environment, it just oozes with style. I really want to know what's going on here. Job well done.
I like the images they showed after that, with all the different weapons that came from the design contest. I especially like that sage weapon. Yeah,
now a lot of these weapons, like that one of the circular buzzsaw axe, those were weapon design contest ones.
Which is very cool that they're bringing those in as a lot of these.
Yeah, I think comparing it again, I missed this before, but it looks like the comedy tombstone weapons are weapon design contest ones. So yeah, that I had noticed that like it seemed like there was a very eclectic design, lots of different stuff, not necessarily a unified style, and the fact that they're bringing in all these different ones from the weapon design contest does explain that. That's really cool.
It's nice to see that they're bringing a lot of the community's entries into something so prevalent like that. Not just like you have to get it from this particular side quest, or it's a glamour item that you can get for PvP or whatever, but these are going to be the weapons that people are going to be using on a regular basis, especially those who are not going to be doing Savage content.
God, what was it? Like, I know someone who submitted a thing for the furnishing contest that did end up in game, and he is so proud of it. And it was actually a really nice furnishing. The one, like the leather chair with like the little chocobo thingy on it. He was the one who designed that. It's like he was just so thrilled when he found out, like, oh yeah, they're going to be putting it in there. I think he like put a couple of them in his apartment or something like that.
And then Seyrr likes the blue mage weapon.
Oh yes, with those blue mage changes, they're of course going to have a couple new blue mage weapons. Those weapons, of course, are purely cosmetic, which means that they can just which again, I actually really like, just in terms of they can offer lots of stuff for different folks. It's not going to be something where it's like oh, well, you'll get it and then you'll glamour over it. Which is always kind of disappointing. It's like, okay, you get this weapon, but then you have to hide its appearance. It's nope, just you have more options. And in this one, we've got a rolled up umbrella. It's got some nice little ornamentation on it, but it's got very much like that sort of dapper gentleman, or I guess dapper lady type thing, using the umbrella as a cane, twirling it, pointing, all the stuff like that.
Seyrr just wants to hit people in the head with an umbrella.
Hey.
Yes.
First Blue Mage quest, we beat a baby Kraken to death with a stick. This is a Blue Mage tradition.
But you just want to beat everybody over the head with an umbrella.
Tradition! I will perform Fiddler on the Roof. See if I don't.
Anyway, some of the other things, and they start getting into some of the new Pandemonium raid. Show some of the Pandemonium gear.
Yeah. I know I'd seen the stuff about the exchange rates for the Savage rewards. Yoshida specifically talked about he knows that there's a lot of games coming out soon, not just FF16, and they don't want you to feel chained to FF14. Which we've seen this before when we talked about how he said, like, yeah, if you like unsubscribe and just come back for the patches, we're fine with that. We again have this. For a lot of stuff, it seems like there's been this attitude of we need to keep people on the treadmill, we need to keep them addicted, we need to keep them in here all the time. And having this, hey, no, we want you to like feel like you have time to go do other stuff.
Except for those of us who have houses, we have to stay in the game.
I mean, you just need to check in once every 45 days. You can do it when you get the email reminding you.
Yes, but that means you still have to stay subbed to the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, they want houses to go for people who are like actively involved with stuff. They are a limited resource.
Exactly.
But given that we're again seeing this thing where they're putting their money where their mouth is, and having end game rewards a little bit easier to get so that you can have time for other things. Well, like it's easy to say that for like, oh yeah, when you finish with all this, but having like actual end game rewards is stuff that ostensibly is there to keep people playing all the time. Easing off on that a bit, there's like, it is surprising. Like, this is not the way the industry generally works.
No, he wants people to play 16.
I mean, he said not just 16. There's a lot of good stuff coming out soon.
He wants people to play 16.
I mean, he absolutely wants people to play 16. He worked on it. I am sure he is very proud of it.
Yeah, I actually can't wait for 16. I mean, I'm gonna go ham on that game. I might even start streaming it again. We'll have to see how busy I am.
Yeah, but he did mention that they'll be keeping this rate going forward as well. So this is not just because there's a bunch of games coming out soon, we're doing it as a one-time thing. It seems like this will be the standard going forward.
And it makes sense, to make sure that people can, play at their own rate at this point. If you really want to work hard for it and push for it, you can, but it'll still be easier for those of us who might not push quite as hard.
It was a really unexpected and I want to say like really pleasant thing to have in the middle of what's just supposed to be this live letter, just the usual announcement about upcoming stuff. This reaffirmation of the philosophy that like you see it with so many games of like we want to exploit them for everything we're worth. We want our customers to feel a sense of addiction. All of this stuff really focused towards extracting the maximum value from them. And having someone say like, hey, no, that's not a cool way to treat your customers. We're going to provide them a quality product, but we're not going to punish them if they want to do something other than play all the time. Just in terms of philosophy of how they approach the business, it is such a difference from what we've been seeing over the last several years. And I wasn't expecting to get notes of that in something like a producer live letter. So I'm really pleased, deeply impressed.
The gaming industry in general is really changing nowadays. I mean, you see the amount of time that has to go into the development of just one game. You hear about a game released, way back, like
Yeah.
3 years ago, and then it finally gets released, or it gets to a certain point, and then they have to push it back because it just takes more time. There's a lot more in games at this point. I mean, it used to fit on a small cartridge, and now we have 50 gigabyte games, 100 gigabyte games, because of all the textures, all the realism, all of the physics built into each of these. There's a lot to it, and
from a business perspective, I get that you want to get the maximum return. That if you're going to put that much into it, you want to make sure that you're going to get return on your investment. But at a certain point, that does start coming at the expense of the actual players.
Mm-hmm. Well, but with that, they also want to make sure that, especially with what we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show, with Square Enix wanting to really put more, HD games, as they put it, out every year, and they're going to be relying on games like Final Fantasy XIV to bring in consistent revenue so they can fund those games. They need to make sure that the game that's coming out is accessible as much as it is today as it is in 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you have this plan of, okay, we're going to have people playing FF14 so that we can fund all these games. Oh no, the people are so busy playing FF14, they're not actually buying any of these games.
Yeah, so you want to make sure, but then also want to make sure that they can finish the content that they want, not get, pushed out of the game because it's so difficult, and then not come back at all, and then you lose all that monthly revenue.
It is a much more respectful way to look at your play. It's looking at your customers and as your players as this really important thing that you want to take proper care of. Yep. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because I mean, unfortunately, not everybody is a full-time game reviewer or something like that, where all you do all day is play video games for your job. It'd be nice if it was the case, or if I were independently wealthy.
Even they have to do some writing from time to time.
Indeed. But just the way that things, I mean, the MMO experience from if you look back, Ultima Online, and Final Fantasy 11, EverQuest, all of those games were very, very grind heavy, very difficult. It required a huge investment in your time, as well as
famously
a lot of luck.
So in some cases. Remember the 18-hour Pandemonium Wardens?
Yeah. And now you look at it, and while a lot of people will say, well, they really eased up on everybody, it's so much easier now.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
that is directly my point. Fine.
I will say this. Blizzard was probably one of the first companies to really see that, and when WoW came out, it was so much easier than Final Fantasy XI. It almost seemed like it was too easy at the time, but looking back at it now, that's probably the reason why they got so big. And also now the reason why Final Fantasy XIV is starting to climb and become the juggernaut that it is, within reach of, what WoW was at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see that they're actually, looking at the players and respecting their time and their money, and making sure that they get as much entertainment out of it without being another job. Because that
feels.
Go ahead.
It feels like that's another consequence of the people who are making these games are the people who are playing these games as well. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not something where, gamers, that's something to be like, exploit their fandom for money. Like, you have people who can see people who play games as, people.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, the way the MMOs are looked at has changed significantly, and I think for the best. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy with the way things are going right now, and I think it really is going to just help with everything in the game industry, with being able to handle all of these different things simultaneously. So it's a positive, and I look forward to where it takes us in the future. But now that we got that tangent kind of out of the way, let's go ahead and continue talking about the Variant and Criterion dungeons. It's a really pretty area, Mount Rockon.
Mm-hmm. We've got, where did that go? Yeah, you've got a lot of that, like, There's some bits of it that vaguely remind me of Hullbreaker Isle, just in terms of the like, hey, you've got this lush outdoor environment, this little bit of like, it feels a little bit explory, even though looking at the map, you've got a bit of your like, again, your traditional, somewhat narrow pathways. Lots of kind of like we've seen so much of Kugane and of things like that as like the polished gardens, a lot of the fancy. We've been kept pretty much to the city and the trappings of civilization. So getting to see a bit more of like the landscape, a bit more of this stuff growing wild.
Yep. Though it is sad we have to wait until patch 6.45 for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's nice that they showed us a little bit of what we're going to get with it. So they actually showed a lot of stuff in here, because I saw mention at the end of this, the next live letter isn't until Vegas.
Yep.
So we have a bit of time. You know, we've got like almost 2 months until the next live letter. Let's just jump right to the end with the announcements then, because a lot of the stuff we're going to see more about in patch notes as the stuff is released. So they did specify that the North American Fan Fest live stream will be on YouTube and Twitch, and they'll have links and more details later, like how much what the cost will be. Well, it'll probably be free to stream, but there'll probably be like, you can buy the virtual experience where you get the mountain minion type of thing. They do that again. So all of the FanFest attendees will get access to a special battle, the Gilded Araya, which will be put into the game at a later date. But those who got to go to FanFest will get to experience that as part of the festivities.
Yeah. This does feel like kind of a FanFest tradition at this point. The Odin battle was first sampled at FanFest. We had the Proto Ultima battle that would eventually show up as a set piece in Dun Sky.
Yep.
I forget what. God, there was another one.
I don't remember what the 2018 one was. I wasn't there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't one for 2020 because that was a virtual FanFest. And then they talked about there'll be, for those of you who already have or are interested in getting the immersive game pack, the 3D audio, the spatial audio plugin for Final Fantasy XIV, there will be a version 2.0 that releases on patch day. So on the 23rd, you'll be able to get an updated version of that. I'm kind of interested to see what that's going to be like.
Yeah, they did note that until the 21st of Wednesday, that they'll be extending the free trial period from 15 days to 30 days, and that those who have tried the free trial in the past can try it again.
Yep.
Kind of makes sense given that they're having this major update to it. Even if you've tried it before, they're saying, hey, give this another listen. This might be better than you thought.
Yeah, because it was neat, and I bought it when it came out. They had a special deal where you can get it for like, what was it, 20% off, so it was like $16 instead of 20. But it was nice, but there were certain things that just brought me out of the game, so I haven't been really utilizing it since. I am interested to see what this new version is like, and give that a try, so it'll definitely bring me back into updating.
Whatever lets me shut the world out. Wait, what? I said the quiet part out loud.
And then they also talked very heavily about Final Fantasy 16, which releases on June 22nd. Very, very excited for that. Before the 16 game launches, the team will be holding an event in LA. There will be a live stream similar in tone to a 14 live letter, and there will be a demo at some point, but they cannot give the date yet. So I'm sure that's probably coming out about, I bet we hear something maybe next week, because I'm trying to think, when did the Stranger of Paradise demo came out? That came out well before the game released, didn't it?
I think so, yeah.
And I want to say, and I think it's great that they're doing this, because for a lot of people like me, I ordered it from the Square Enix store, and they are notorious for not getting it to you on release day. So and I'm betting you that the demo will let you bring your save game into the full game, so you'll get to play the game a little bit, experience it. It might just be an early access type of thing. I bet
that does seem like the standard for a lot of demos at this point, that it's effectively an early access bit.
So we'll have to see what they announce, but it'll be probably something like that. I mean, don't quote me because we haven't been given the actual information, but if past things that they have done is to be any indicator, there's a good chance of that. Aside from that, the the Final Fantasy 16 producer expects the Final Fantasy 14 producer to share collaboration details after people have played Final Fantasy 16.
God, he loves milking that bit.
Oh, that is so
I mean,
funny.
I absolutely would too. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I fully support this nonsense.
And of course, if something goes wrong in Final Fantasy 16, the Final Fantasy 14 director is going to blame the Final Fantasy 16 director explicitly.
Are we sure he hasn't just developed a full-on split personality or something?
Well, when you work around Koji that long, it's very possible. But maybe FoxCon is what keeps him from doing that.
Oh no.
Who knows? We'll have to see. But then again, like I said, the next live letter is going to be at FanFest in Vegas. And they also made sure to mention, you know, like we did a little bit earlier in the show, the 10th anniversary of A Realm Reborn is happening very, very soon. So,
God, 10 years already.
yeah, I remember when I got into the beta for ARR. You know, after I kind of left 14 in the dust because it was just horrible. 1.0,
right?
Ugh. But then I had a coworker at the time mention this, and it's like, I played the original of this. It's coming back. It's not going to be a dumpster fire. And look at me now. I mean, if it weren't,
is weird.
If it weren't for that, it'd have about $6,000 more.
You probably would have wasted it.
You're right, on something else. But I mean, I also wouldn't have all that really cool stuff. We wouldn't be doing this podcast. You know, it was actually a really interesting thing that one.
It is weird that you can legitimately describe this as life-changing.
Yeah, a video game, literally life-changing.
For a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that just weird how people can say that about a video game? A kid's toy for what a lot of people think. But yeah, that being said, I think that's probably a good point to end that. And was there anything within the patch notes themselves that you wanted to discuss, or we kind of cover everything?
So there were a couple quick points that I want to touch on. There were some interesting tidbits in there. Let me scroll through really fast and find them. I do suggest looking through. If nothing else, we got more previews of the new furnishings, some of which I am very excited about. I am totally adding that fishing rod rack to my place.
Yeah, I can see you doing that. You know, and are you going to print out your spreadsheet to hang underneath it?
I mean, have you seen my apartment? I have it set up like a little fish research station.
No,
there's like technical. Okay, log in it later, and I'm going to show you my apartment.
Later.
But some of the things that they mentioned, where did it go? They mentioned some of the places where enemies have been adjusted, field locations right after the blue magic update. So we've got some idea of where we might be looking for blue magic spells. So of course the log will have that.
Okay.
There was something that caught my eye. Let me find it really fast.
Yeah, I'm scrolling
Usual
through it
things
too.
about the tombstone changes, duty roulette changes, all the various tombstone whatnots.
PvP changes. That PvP mount is quite interesting.
They made some changes to the logos actions in Eureka, so I don't know what's up with that. Like, I was not expecting. Some of those are just like it's instead of increasing defensive, it reduces physical damage taken, or a lot of them are changing things from increasing a defense stat to just a straight up damage reduction. It's a little strange to me that they're making adjustments to Eureka, but
well, I mean, it is still content that is needed. So
they did note that they're going to add commendation crystals. So for those who have gotten their fill of the trophy crystals, they'll have a new type of thing, and so there'll be other types of weapons that you can get. They mentioned a bit about the Hellhound weapons. Let's see, Frontline. A lot of this was like me raving about Frontlines, but that's another one. Where did it go? Okay, they do have some more details about the glamour system improvements. I can't find it now.
Well,
Okay, we can leave it at there then.
That's
And
fine.
probably what will happen is in about 10-15 minutes, I'll be like, oh, that's what it was, and it'll show up on the post show.
Yep. So I did link the preliminary patch notes again in the chat for those of you who are interested in going through that. It is always a good read. And again, there are a few things that may change with the, from this to the official patch notes, but for the most part, this gives you a pretty good idea as to what is all being done in the system. So look forward to that.
Typically going from preliminary to the finalized patch notes, mostly it's just that they add things in, stuff that they didn't want to tell us before it was too late to go and change
sometimes
stuff on the market
locations.
boards.
Yeah.
Stuff where you might change, like start selling a bunch of stuff or buy up all of the things really cheaply or something like that.
Yeah.
But other than, usually it's just stuff that they want to keep confidential for whatever reason. It's only rarely that they actually change. And it's typically like they change the phrasing of something to make it a little more clear. Yeah. For the most part, these tend to stay the same.
All right. Anything else that you wanted to talk about real quick before we end this?
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, that's a lot of information for you guys to glean through, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. But that's
we got a lot coming down the pike.
We do, and that's gonna go ahead and do it for this episode then, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is, and if possible, leave us a rating or review. It lets us know how we're doing and helps new people to find our show. And if you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing to us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixStormRadio, where you get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or if you really dig the show, you can go to patreon.com/PhoenixStormRadio and support us there, like our benevolent overlord, Aurori Fenrir, or our secret of Nevermore Ravenheart. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade equipment, as well as do fun things like contests and giveaways. But any kind of support, whether it's likes, emails, tweets, subs, donations, follows, whatever, it's greatly appreciated because we do enjoy interacting with you guys and the rest of the community. If you want to catch up on our backlog of podcasts, you can go out to our website, PhoenixStormRadio.com. And maybe in the near future, if time allows, we'll maybe get some more of those articles out there like we used to have. It's been a while since we've had a Librarian Extra.
Oh man, I probably actually could start talking about the history of Mahjong.
That might actually be an interesting one for people to read if that's something
there are
like.
So many variations. Like I learned all the stuff and then found out like, oh, and this is just for Rishi Mahjong. There's also Taiwanese Mahjong and a bunch of others.
If you have questions, comments, suggestions, or just want to say hi, you can always email us podcast@PhoenixStormRadio.com. You can, like I said, you can catch us live here every other Saturday night at twitch.tv/PhoenixStormRadio. And we also have all of our VODs posted out to our YouTube page at youtube.com/PhoenixStormRadio. We don't do the Twitter thing much anymore because, well, most social media is
dumpster fire.
Yep. But if you want to hang out with us and ask us some questions directly, I'm going to recommend that you come join us on our Discord channel. Which I linked in the show notes there. You can also go out to our website, PhoenixRadio.com, and there is in the upper links, there's a link that it'll bring you to our Discord page, and you can join from there. It's a great place to ask us questions, interact with other people within the community, and just have a good time. I think it's a really nice community that we've built here. So come join us sometime. Any shout outs there?
I'll go ahead and give a shout out to the Mahjong community of the Primal Data server, mostly because that's the only one I've met. I'm sure the others are delightful, who almost immediately recognize, oh, hey, here's a person we haven't seen in the queue much before. Apparently, you tend to run into the same people a lot. And have been very friendly, very welcoming, have made great conversation. In a couple cases, have given like actual lessons about various finer points of strategy. So very welcoming crew. Mahjong is a complicated, well, it's not. It is a reasonably complicated game, but if you do decide that you want to learn it, there are a lot of people who will be very happy to have you joining their community. They're all so nice.
Which is odd because a lot of times people, if they have a little of any type of foothold in anything, they want to hang on to that. But it's nice to see.
Yeah, they just want more people to join. They will then promptly run a 7 pairs thing on you and take all of your points in a single thing because you discarded a tile that you thought was safe. But other than that, they're great.
Seyrr,
and really, that's just part of the game.
Did that happen to you, Seyrr?
I may have fallen in with the wrong crowd.
Show us on the mahjong table where they touched you.
That was a hilarious mahjong pun that you would know if you played the game.
Anyway.
So yes, big shout out to them. Also, shout out again, as always, to my buddy Spender. Good job on that Abyssos clear. Please don't destroy yourself on the next tier, dude.
Well,
we worry for you from time to time.
Like I said, like we talked about, if previous things are to be anything to be said, this tier should be easier than the second tier.
Yeah. And the reward system will be a little bit more generous as well.
Indeed.
Which means that he'll finish earlier and I can teach him how to play mahjong. This is going to be great.
Or he'll drag you into the depths of savage hell.
There is a possibility that both of those things happen. We are great / terrible influences on each other.
It's great to have a friend like that, isn't it?
Right? So yes, shout outs to Spender, to the Mahjong community, to all of our listeners, to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the reason that I come here and say whatever happens to be on the top of my head. And I love you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
Isn't it crazy? Speaking of life-changing, isn't that crazy?
Oh my God, I did not think people would want to hear me talk this much about all these things. I'm trying not to be self-deprecating about it.
Yeah, 7.5 years
still
later.
Weird. It's still weird.
Right? And
not like bad weird, just weird.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I need to shout out Seyrr, who's, as always, a great co-host. Thank you so much for putting in the work on the discussion topic again. He's just so good at going through all of the little minutiae and making it somewhat easy to access and understand, because my job has me working a lot and I don't get to put in nearly as much time on that kind of prep work, and the fact that Seyrr does it on a regular basis and does it so well. Everybody needs a Seyrr.
I literally have a master's degree in doing this.
Yes, so thank you so much for that. I picked the right co-host, huh, guys? Shout outs to all of our Patreon supporters. Shout outs to everybody watching us live here at Twitch. We do appreciate your guys' comments and things in the chat. We really do. It makes the show a lot better, so thank you so much. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for that. Come join us live sometime. You might enjoy it. It might be fun. I do understand Saturday nights aren't everybody's cup of tea, but we'll do what we can for you. Aside from that, like I said, check out our Discord server if you want to have a real fun community. Even though all corporations are kind of problematic. Yes, we know even Discord isn't immune from that, but the community we run within Discord is up to us. So let's keep it happy and positive. So for my co-host Seyrr Tomono, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.